Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer. Welcome back to Vicky 3. This is episode 15. We engaged in a aggressive war, not against one, not against two, but three nations. Full conquer of two, plus a conquering majority of the third, is the target. It's a lofty goal because combined, they're about equal with us, and starting defensive has not gone really well. It looks like we are better offensive as a nation than we are defensive. Now, so far we have killed twice as many as the losses we've taken, and we're not actually even fully mobilized at this stage. We've had a lot of extra conscripts that we're trying to bring in. Cost of the war is not great, but we're losing on all fronts right now, so it is a little bit worrying. I actually do have a couple of uh, or a front here that we could theoretically try to throw some uh, units into, even if it's just a few, at advance and see what it does for us. But we are only just barely losing on one front, but we are losing bad on one front, and then this front is starting to stabilize as we had no troops here whatsoever just a short while ago, and I think we are going to be in a position to do more. In the meantime, yeah, the conscripts, just 14 out of 103 have mobilized. The others are just starting to get active and get in. But right now we can't advance on any front as we are defending. Luckily, though, if we do lose, war reparations is all that we face. And you see more and more things are starting to turn in our favor. You see offensive versus defensive could be a better way to go for us. It's just turning it into an offensive front. We could turn that one into an offensive front now. Alright, I'm going to give that a shot. I think also... No, not that front. Not that front. This front is not looking good, no matter where, no matter where you go with it. I don't know if it's the general or what. So he's going to have to kind of delay while we start to make progress in other areas. This front defensive looks to be better for whatever reason. For the first time, we're seeing green, at least on one front. 52 units. Now on this front, defense looks like the best way, as you know, it's a closer comparison. On this front, still the same issue. I don't know how these 14 units for Kalat are so strong, but we are slowly gaining here. Offensive versus defensive is definitely going better for us. It's a slender advantage, though. Meanwhile, I'm still really liking the idea of advancing this front along here into their territory and conquer. But that means recruiting a fourth general. We've assigned him to the Sistan-Laristan front, and we want to advance here, so we are spreading out, and let's see what this does to the rest of the fronts. Right now it's at 0-0, but we will have 10 units there soon enough, and advancing in Kalat. Might as well try to do something where we continue to have just that slender advantage here. 4 days till that begins to progress. And there's only two ways that that's going to go. Either they're going to rush through, or units are going to get pulled away from the front somewhere else. And here we go. It's on. Wow, we continue to lose here, which is just the most odd thing that we are losing on that front. But there you go. There's that rapid advancement into Kalat. And again, we continue to gain in the north while we are just hanging on. But Kalat is quickly falling. So far, no sign of them trying to mobilize any troops on that front. Uh-oh. We just lost the troops we had on this front. That's about to advance. Stronger advantage over Afghanistan at the moment, but Kalat is mostly under our control already. Having that one open pocket that they didn't conquer has really given us an opportunity here that we were not seeing before, and could go very well in our favor. I just worry about the middle front in the meantime, where we are definitely losing. But Kalat itself is going to be almost fully occupied here in just a moment. Will they drop out of the war if that happens? Will their 15 troops that we are struggling to fight, will they drop out? They fight on. Kalat has been taken, but they fight on. Now working on conquering Afghanistan. Interesting war. I'm still really nervous because this has not gone, as you would think. We are beating Afghanistan slowly on the main front, but now also conquering them from behind, from the rear. But that middle front has been a pretty big issue for us. And how we're losing on this front against a weaker Makran, with 8 units to their name. Oh boy, units are dividing now. Our front's combining, and I'm not happy with how that's going. Now it's 65 versus 15 here, but we're losing on that front rapidly. Do we have... No, there's not even a front there at the moment. Okay, we have 2 that are now just standing by. 1 to advance. Here. There. Okay, so things got a little sloppy there for a moment as units kind of switched places. But we are now advancing on this front, where we were previously struggling. This front's holding fairly steady, and we're going to continue to conquer Afghanistan here shortly. We'll try to take out Makran as well as we can. Now, I don't know what happened to my units that were here. I've assigned units there. There we go. Okay, that front is gone, and now we are outnumbered here, but look, we've somehow advanced, right? If they can hold them off, and we can start actually pushing back the other 2 fronts, if we can eliminate the 2 fronts, and yet somehow I'm at a minus 1.6. In terms of dead, wounded, cost, yeah, we have more units than they have. I don't know how we are so weak compared to them, but we are definitely strong on one front at least. Ooh, hello. Okay, things have changed. Things have changed. Far's front needs to advance. They are trying to take back their territory, so we need to advance. Actually, I have 2 units trying to defend the Far's front. Okay, they're back. Of course they are. Okay, Kalat has capitulated. Kalat has capitulated. That's 1 enemy out. This is going to finally start giving us the advantage that we needed. We're going to hold these guys off, which we now have an advantage and an advantage. So it did work out. Kalat and the stronger of the enemies, we finally... So they existed in a pocket, and then we went and conquered their land. Taking their land, put them under duress, but then we strongly went against the pocket, and ultimately they've capitulated, and now we carry an advantage. So we've got a strong advantage against Makran and then a slender advantage against Afghanistan, but we're going to take that strong advantage, and hopefully things are going to start going our way rather quickly from here. We are experiencing some radicalism right now, as migration controls is a current political topic that is under desirable control. We add a few more units also from the new region. We have 1 unit that is not even involved yet, waiting for orders. Do we want to advance that front? Well, we have another front. Go ahead and take it. Finish the other front. It looks like it's just a tiny little pocket, but go. Oh, come on, it pulled them off the front here. Game's a little buggy in how that works. Just finish that, and they'll quickly move back over there, right? Can't get into Makran right now, which is weird because we control this land. It's not creating a front for us, but we are winning along. In control here shortly, and finish that in just a moment. Closing that pocket. Through a pocket that things went haywire for us. There we go. And they all go into this pocket momentarily. That's okay. That's going to lead to a very, very quick defeat of Makran. I think I need to get some more support up here, though. I need to put some of these units at least over and defend over here. Yeah, that'll give us 23. That'll slow them down, where this group is still going to advance very quickly and get McCran out of the war, which was kind of the plan in the first place. And it's going to get us back all this territory that we've lost. There you go. You're up to 24 now. It's still a slow loss in Afghanistan, but that's conquered territory that we just need to hold up. And meanwhile, we still have a huge advantage here, where we're going to gain quite rapidly. That other group, that 13 of 18, maybe we want to shift them over to this front as well to slow it down even more. That just opened up rapidly. Okay, let's take the 13 and reconquer this territory. So those 13 will reclaim this territory, and meanwhile we are now pushing on McCran and should have that fairly soon. But again, why are I have 4 army. Okay. The bouncing around as fronts change. I think the game needs a little work on that, because now we're losing again on that front instead of just slowly reconquering our territory and meanwhile taking McCran, ruling them out. It's going to put everybody on this front before too long. Okay. This is all combined again. We are back to slowing down there. Somehow we're at minus 88 from war exhaustion. That's not good. That's not good. We might actually lose this thing. But we've at least conquered one state. We would have war reparations otherwise. At the very least, we've won a goal. Minus 92 now. They're at minus 38. I mean, we're bringing them along very, very quickly on that. Afghanistan has capitulated. Okay. Oh, it's on now. But we're at minus 96. So we've taken Western Afghanistan. We've taken 2 out of 3 goals, but we are on the verge of losing the war. And there it is, war reparations. Okay, strange occurrence on how that played out. If the game didn't kind of bounce us from one front to the other and actually allow us to manage the fronts a little more properly on the assigning of troops and not having them bounce back and forth as the fronts changed, as we crossed borders. That's where that occurred. We would have won. And we won it. Easily had it. But McCran, we're going to have to pay war reparations to, because we somehow lost to them, because essentially the war timed out. Our people were exhausted from them, though we were a month away from just walking all over them. But we, at least in the meantime, did get 2 out of our 3 goals. We added 2 more states. We did get larger. A little bit of a win-loss. We have nearly 2 million radicals now, as they are very much not happy with us. We have made gains. Our GDP is now 8 million, but we have a lot of work to do. Our population has grown significantly, nearly 10 million people now, though. So there's good and bad. Now, this migration control is popular. Let's see what this migration control is. So we have no migration controls right now, which is probably a good thing, right? But we want to control migration. It's popular against it. I think we're going to have to shut this thing down. It's not necessarily what I want, but now they're placated. It's going to stop. We're going to have radicals because of the conflict that we just had. And now I have 4 generals come to an end. I will reset. We've made some enemies, so let's go out and try to deal with, like, say, Afghanistan, who's gotten much weaker than before. But let's go ahead and improve relations there. Let's go ahead and the East India Company might be a good one to make friends with. And maybe Oman. Okay, nothing under construction. But that's going to get expensive the moment we do decide to get involved in construction again. Wow, what an experience that was. Did not go as expected, for sure. But we have ultimately, seen some positives come out of that experience. I mean, like I said, it would have been nicer if we had gotten all 3 and not been paying reparations. What we're paying McCran right now is so unnecessary and not helpful. That 3,000 in war reparations is a bit of an annoyance, and to not have them conquered at this stage Also, bit of an annoyance. Okay, we will be fine. Alright, migration controls has passed. The group that has absolutely hated us for a little bit here for not passing it sooner are now satisfied. I'm not exactly a fan of migration controls by any stretch of the imagination, but it's in. Population is now the 16th largest worldwide, but we're way behind on standard of living, so we're going to want to make gains on that sooner rather than later. You can see the GDP jump from adding those two new markets. Western Afghanistan in particular is quite a large market that we have added. I mean, if you think about a nation of 2 states was equivalent nearly to all of Persia, 10 states. So that was a big addition. Baluchistan is a pretty big one, as well as we just hit a huge cost increase here. Not sure what suddenly spiked on us. Looks like if we can increase our bureaucracy, which means upgrading a number of government administration buildings, we can implement better access to education, better access to the health system, better access to law enforcement, all at the cost of bureaucracy, therefore government administration, which of course does have a cost in and of itself. So countering this is going to be the tricky part on that one, as we currently have a terrible balance. By the way, radicals have already fallen off by 500,000 in over the course of the last year since the end of the war. So it is dropping rather rapidly at the time being. I'm going to have a quick look at all of the neighbors that surround us and what their strength is. Oman, very weak. Makran, very weak. Sind, a little bit stronger. They're okay. Sikh Empire, much stronger. They would be a good ally. Afghanistan, looking a bit weaker than before. Kokandi, they're decently strong for as small as they are. Same with Bukhara. And Khiva, likewise. They have a decent military strength. Now for us, our projection is stronger than each of them, except for the Sikh. On the other side, Bahrain doesn't even have a military. Both of these would be very easy takes throughout this area. It would be easy. The Ottomans, of course, are going to be strong, much stronger than us. Same with the Russians. Keeping them on our side is key. Now, our payments towards Makran is a good way to fix the economy, as it's a problem right now. When that goes away, the economic trouble we have at the moment very much goes away as well. So short term, construction is an alternative way. I can sit idle for a little while till those payments stop, as we are definitely eating into our gold reserves fairly rapidly. I mean, it's down to 1 million. Until it halves from where it's at right now, I want to continue to grow. Decrease in radicals has absolutely slowed from before, but it's going down. You can see most of it is the 2 regions that we've just added in. Here's our kind of first look. A couple government administrations, a couple logging camps, 6 wheat farms. It's doing okay agriculture-wise. It does add 5 barracks, and the turmoil will decrease. Now, it's going to require a lot of bureaucracy to get it incorporated, and will take 10 years, but we will want to incorporate it at some point. Huge population. I mean, that's the big thing, and this is going to slowly go away. Tax waste, 25, also way over the taxation capacity. Here, infrastructure's well over. Turmoil is also very high. We could see that drop below 50% here soon. Hopefully see the tax waste drop a bit. This one's going to be a lot easier to incorporate. Following the war with Makran, we now have them engaged in a revolt. So I would love to get involved on this one if possible. I would be siding with Makran itself. So Makran is trying to sway us to side with them against their revolt, which could come up with an obligation. We could utilize that obligation to try to make them our subject at some stage and incorporate them through means other than war. You know what? Let's go for it. They are uncertain now. I wouldn't even have to mobilize much. Alright, so it's entering the final phase here, and for now I'm only even mobilizing a small number. I believe the war reparations have just gone away as our deficit, economic deficit, just got a whole lot smaller. Realistically, the only deficit we're facing right now is the fact that we have mobilized some units. Alright, so the war is on, but we have a substantial advantage even with just 6. Other units are just garrisoned, so they've got the defensive side covered. We don't need to mobilize them, and this one unit alone should be able to actively bring down the 2 units of the revolt. So A, this has ended the war reparations for us, and B, now Macran is going to owe us one and use that to our benefit here in the near future. We are experiencing some dead. I mean, we've taken 180 dead, 300 wounded already, but the cost of the war has been minimal. And you can see we are easily defeating the units at the moment. There you go. We make another advance. Going to start speeding things back up, by the way. Never sped things up after the war. So I've been kind of focused on stabilizing. I'll have this wrapped up here soon enough. Final phase, looks like. This will just about do it. One last. I did figure out how to manage the fronts a little bit better, though, from before. And that's their last stand. That should do it. We fully occupy the land. Or not. Last occupied territory, right? No active fronts. Now it's just a matter of the occupation, I suppose. It'll be done soon enough. Full occupation. This is what was needed. We are not the war leader, though, so we're going to have to just sit on. Let it happen. Our economy went right back to where it was, so maybe the war reparations are, fortunately, once again being paid out. Alright, so with that task done, Macran is back to being Macran, but now we have a different situation when it comes to Macran. Obligations to us, and Afghanistan for that matter. Yeah, so a tributary is kind of where I would want to start with that. The truce will go away. That'll subtract 1,000, but then it's a minus 142 otherwise. Can we use our obligation for that? Let's go and improve relations with them. So we are still paying Macran right now 3,000, so that continues on as we still have that deal in place. Meanwhile, military expenses went up a lot as we altered our military right now. I'm trying to overcome that. One good way, add another consumption tax. Can help cover that off. Furniture might be a good one to add in, as that's considered a luxury item. Liquor is actually relatively cheap. We can add in a decent amount of income from that. Porcelain, likewise, will do the same thing for us. Brings that debt down a little bit. And then the 3,500 is just to a minus 2,000. Of course, construction, minus 6.61 right now. So stopping construction would see a positive balance. But it's also how we grow the economy. So right now, gold reserves are still high enough. They're still high enough. We're okay for the time being. Let's continue to kind of try to balance things out. Tax T, go ahead and add that one more. That brings us down to 4,500. We still have a little bit left over in terms of that power. This is all while remaining neutral and continuing to do construction, and of course, you know, that 3,500. So deficit essentially is now 1,000, and that's, you know, with paying a better military than. All right, two things that we are not producing that are costing us a lot right now is the artillery and the small arms. I think the small arms is something I can deal with. Yes, arms industry. There you go. We need iron and hardwood, so we can take care of the hardwood quite easily, and on top of the iron here shortly enough as well. So let's get iron and hardwood taken care of. And there you go. Iron mines will not be profitable up front, but we'll get there. So Isfahan will get us started on the iron. We are going to take one of our logging camps, and we are going to shift a logging camp. Irakajimi. There you go. Just this particular one is going to switch to sawmills, which is this hardwood production. We're going to make a little less money as a result, but that's going to get hardwood now in production. So now we have the hardwood. We will soon have the iron. Let's up the iron, get that in sooner. In fact, let's go ahead and put that right to the top. It'll take care of producing those, which means then we can go and produce small arms. Means we won't have to be buying it externally where it's costing us a ton. Not adding industries to those areas. Go ahead and do in the capital. It's a good place for that. Okay, that'll take care of small arms. So that's one issue that has already arisen, quickly being addressed. Minus 56, what the barracks need. So we need a lot of production, but cost is very, very high as a result. This will decrease that military cost by quite a bit by getting it on the market. Back into the construction here. Let's get that arms industry. Produce cannons to do the same thing. Guessing that's going to be within the arms industry as well, potentially. Or we don't have it yet. So we're down to less than 2 years, by the way, on those reparations. So that'll go away. Ooh, hello. Gold reserves, it's getting small, down to 393. That small arms industry, I think, is going to make a sizable difference once we get that up and running. Hopefully that is actually the case. So we may require a break from construction here in the near future. Western Afghanistan remains at 34% on the turmoil. Baluchistan, meanwhile, is down to 42%, so the tax base has definitely fallen off a bit. The infrastructure is still a pretty big issue, and it remains an unincorporated state, which we just don't have the extra bureaucracy to deal with that just yet. So we are going to need some additional government administrations. Radicals not falling off very quick, by the way, so it is taking a while to get things down, and most of it is all just there. Alright, so the way to fix the cannon issue is also through the arms industry, but it would need to be a separate one because we have small arms production or we have cannons. So to switch to cannons, it looks like you're going to consume more iron and require more machinists to turn that around, but we need two separate arms industries, one to focus on cannons, one to focus on small arms. And that first one's still under construction right now. It's going to take 31 weeks to finish up. Let's go ahead and speed things back up here. Right now the economy is still hurting the GDP there, but you can see that our balance is actually just slowly getting better and better, and I think that's partially because of the decrease in turmoil. So Western Afghanistan, Baluchistan, getting a little more into the economy, and of course, I have been growing other sectors. Right now that balance at minus 5.61, that gold reserve is getting very low, dangerously low, but we are also less than a year away from the reparations being done, and that's going to take away 3,500 of that. And if this arms industry does what I think it's going to do, it's going to decrease this cost. You can see our small arms is 6,000 and the artillery is 3,000. We're going to rapidly decrease that cost here momentarily. And that 3,500. So two things are going to get better quite soon. That's 6,000, remember? Done in a couple weeks. And suddenly that's going to be coming on the market quite soon. There you go. Small arms industry is now producing. Going to start happening internally. Alright, so here is that arms industry as it's filling out employment. It's already producing 12 small arms now, 14 small arms, 17 small arms, coming up on full employment and producing 25 small arms. Actually making quite a bit of money, but it's also going to decrease the cost here quite soon. And even if it doesn't, we're at least making that money now. We're going to earn a fair bit. Interest is coming in. Okay. We need to take a break from construction, I think. We do not want to be finish up that textile mill. See, I thought it would cost less when we'd start flooding the market with small arms. So far, it's not meeting the need, so we're going to need to expand it further. To decrease the cost, and then the cannons, of course, as well. So we need a second one in the short term. All right, so textile mill done. We're going to get a second arms industry on the go. But as we have a growing debt, things are a little worrying on that part. And there you go. It's going to stop. So we have just expired. It was in June. You're going to see a decrease here momentarily. Should get better. Yeah, see, now we're just paying interest. But we are not paying the war reparations any longer. One quick way to fix this is to stop paying for increased things like the small arm. Go ahead and pause construction, positive balance, and that'll slowly pay off the debt. Once that's paid off, it'll go up a little bit higher, a little bit better, put a little bit of money back away. For consumption tax, we have room for one more. What can we get? Not much. Luxury furniture. Certainly start producing more luxury. We could increase taxes temporarily, but that's going to lead to a lot of issues. It would give us 9,000 on the taxes, though. We'd have that debt paid off in an instant. Oh, choices. Okay, let's just give it a little bit of time. That debt's going to be paid off. The investment pool is going up right now. This is mostly the goods for the military buildings, and that's the big difference. I mean, we are paying nearly 10,000. That is the cost, but this'll take care of the interest. There we go. Okay, balance is starting to get a little healthier, a little bit better. That interest is also going to go away. That's going to give us a chance to build things up, make that credit go away. We're 200,000 in debt right now. First task is to just make that go away. McCran wants a defensive pact. Let's go ahead and accept it. As you know, I want to ultimately make a political play on them. That's going to involve other things like a trade agreement, customs union, kind of all of the above. Central banking will add minting, so we're going to have an even better balance going forward. And down to 145,000 in credit. It's going down fast. By the way, those radicals have finally fallen off to 1.16 million. I mean, it's still there. It's still high, but it's a lot better than what it was previously. Meanwhile, in Western Afghanistan, we're down to 29% turmoil. I'd love to see that drop below 25%. As we can see that tax waste fall off, that would really help the economy. And then we can get back to construction so that we can get some government and administration buildings so we can get these guys incorporated. We're down to 32% here in Baluchistan as well, so it's coming down. And we have gold reserves finally, so our balance is quite healthy right now. Things are getting better. Construction, though, is just over 6,000 in terms of cost. So unpausing that, we'll see that fall off. But as it's paused, let's just go ahead and resume momentarily. And there's the negative balance. Construction goods are actually at 7.6. So small deficit. We're not going to allow it to drop below zero, as gold reserves quickly went out to 100,000. We're going to just slowly trade off between the two. Right now we're very much in a favorable state to... We can have a positive balance of 6,000 or a negative balance of 1,000. So you could get 6 weeks to the good versus 1 week to pause. And the arms industry might bring in enough to even cover that 1,000. A lot of negative articles at the moment, probably because we have so many rebellious people. Okay, minus authority. That hurts. So 16 more weeks, and this should help with the cost significantly when it comes to... Now, the cost is still very, very high compared to... because the market, we're not producing enough on the market. Hopefully this doesn't drive up the cost of hardwood or iron in the short term, as we would need to also deal with that, what that's using up. All right, Yeah, look at that. Instant. Nearly covered off. Gold reserves at 60,000. Construction can continue for now. My guess is if we look, okay, we are not producing enough hardwood, so we are going to need to improve that, but the cost is not insane. But there is arms industry getting better and better, and the cost is dropping. Cost is dropping, and this will come up to 50 as well, so we'll see that stabilize. While we won't quite make as much money from the small arms, we won't be paying absurd amounts. Go look at the budget, I bet you. Goods for military buildings has improved. We have cut the cost of small arms from over 6,000 to 3.5. So sure enough, we have handled neutralizing the cost, and we actually have a positive balance now with construction active. So taking a look at the market, we need more wheat farms. We definitely need more clothing, furniture, which we are working on right now, helping that one out in the market. Food industry is not quite keeping up either. The hardwood's definitely one we need to expand. Probably the greatest need at the moment, an expansion of hardwood. All right, so McCran, I have options. I can form an alliance and try to eventually, bring them into the empire as their overlord, or start through economic means by using a trade agreement. The customs union is not quite there. It's almost there. Acceptance score is a 0 at a plus 12, so the alliance seems like it would be a good one. The tributary, still a minus 72. Not having a customs union and a strategy to defend the borders. So that's plus 35 right there. So let's go ahead and work on it, because they would accept anyway. We are not going to use the... Okay, we have the alliance. And we will have the trade agreement here in a moment, I hope. All right, so we made massive gains today. We added 2 states, and they are slowly getting closer and closer to being happy. We are on the verge of adding multiple government administration buildings so that we can begin incorporating them to the larger state. And then, in the meantime, the once enemy McCran, who lucked out and basically the war timed out on us just before they were conquered, well, the reparations part has finally ended, so our economy has stabilized, but now we are making friends with them. We've formed the alliance, we have the ongoing trade agreement in place, and we are building towards making them our subject. So that's kind of the next diplomatic play that we are actively seeking. In the meantime, the military costs went up as we fought the war and eventually basically won the war, taking most goals anyway, and then we maintained it. We've now overcome that, but we're not done yet, right? The arms industry, just about where we want it to be neutral-wise, but then the cannon industry is the other one that needs addressing as well. So there's more at play to see the longevity of the economy stable and the military stable, but we have in the meantime done what we needed to do to not only get back active construction wise, but have that overall stable military. I'd like to see our radicals fall below a million, but I do believe incorporating those 2 states is going to be a huge part to making that happen long term. GDP, meanwhile, is approaching 10 million, which is where we finished with Ashanti. Literacy is jumped from 22% to almost 37%, so up 15% from where it was and continues to grow. But standard of living remains very, very low. So there's a lot of industries to actively get into and start building the population up long term. But in the meantime, adding 3 million people to the population was absolutely a good way to see things grow there as well. 3 times the population that we finished with Ashanti. That is going to do it for this episode, though. I'm Decathlon Gamer. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Have a good one. Be safe out there. Bye for now.